current night as well as the following day, all the services that are involved for the following day, so breakfast, brunch, lunch, if that's involved, and as well as dinner. And then we also review all of our BEOs for the upcoming week to make sure that there was any changes that's communicated to the chef. Also any new parties that may have came up. So it's really our most important tool to keep all managers on the same page, but also help them develop on a daily basis as well.
What is your understanding of the daily responsibilities of a general manager, assistant general manager, and a restaurant manager?
So I think the top three things for each of these positions, starting with the general manager, is going to really be the cultural ambassador. And I think that, it all stems from the top, and his vision or her vision, and, shining light of positivity and inspiration is probably the most important aspect going to every service for a general manager. In addition to that, I think is having a very strong acumen for what grassroots and marketing initiatives are being implemented for that service, and what is happening to drive the sales outside of the four walls of the restaurant. What impact has he or she done to bring additional business in? And then the third one is to be a coach and to really keep their eyes and ears open for any coaching opportunities for leadership, such as the assistant general manager or restaurant manager, but as well as also for the other team members as well, because developing the team is also a very important aspect of it. For the assistant general manager, the number one thing is just having a wide synopsis of what's going on for the day. So how many covers are coming in, who exactly is coming in, where are we seating them, and then making sure that all the staff is there, going through the floor plan, making sure that if we have 7 servers, all 7 servers are checked in, they're ready to go, their uniforms are pristine, and then thirdly is making sure that all of our materials for the service are being prepared and ready, such as our pre-shift meeting, that micros, if there's any updates need to be made, menu changes, all the tangible materials that the team needs to be ready for service. And for the restaurant manager, I think the number one thing is to assist the AGM in checking all the team members and making sure that all the side work is done thoroughly. All the credenzas are stocked, all the mise en place that everyone would need is plentiful. If it's short, that we're communicating that. And then also doing spot checks, making sure that the bathrooms are clean, making sure that the host credenza is clean, which are really, I think, the very important duties to fall under the restaurant manager role.
Okay, what is covered during pre-shift?
So pre-shift, that's kind of the smaller scale of what we cover in the daily manager meeting, but for the team for that day. So we always start off with a greeting, make sure that everyone's on the same page, same energy level, and a quote of the day. That quote, there's a lot of thought that goes into it because we wanted to make sure that it's surrounding a certain theme. So if, let's say, we had a little bit more bickering the night before and we wanted to be more positive going into the next service, then we will focus on a positivity quote. From there, we go over service notes, areas of opportunity for what we noticed to improve on from the service from the night prior or the couple nights prior. And usually there's anywhere from 10 to 12 points. From there, we do what's called For Your Knowledge for food and beverage. From there, we springboard into any food notes, which will include menu updates, 86s, specials, anything of that nature. And then from there, we do what we call a hospitality of the week, a value of the week, and a standard operating procedure of the week, which are items that we've laid out on a calendar for every day, every week, every month, to make sure that there are things that are being reviewed constantly with the team that are standards in all of our restaurants. And then finally, before that, we actually go over our cover count and then any VIPs that are coming in for the day. And then lastly, we do what's called a kind of verbal quiz where we call out random team members and quiz them on everything from food to beverage to service standards, which is an all-encompassing message for getting ready for the service.
Why is it important to success of the service?
So it's very important for the success of the service because it communicates all the information that any team member could possibly need going into the service. So for food updates or for changes that we're going to make to our service. It's really the method to get everyone prepared for that service.
What are our procedures to maximize cover counts while ensuring a smooth service?
So our procedures is to get the assistant general manager at the door and involved with what's going on with our turn times. Are certain tables taking a little bit longer? Are certain tables dining a little bit faster? Can we add in additional slots? Can we, make some more slots for our prime time? What is usually about 7 to 7:30 to 8 to 8:30. Making sure that we are trying to take in as many walk-ins as we can. So it's really about having that manager presence at the door and constantly coaching the host team to how aggressive we really want to be or need to be in order to hit the numbers that we're looking to get.
How many minutes should elapse between the first course being cleared and the second course being delivered?
No more than 10 to 12 minutes.
How many minutes should elapse between large party orders going into the kitchen?
There should be at least a 15-minute buffer between each large party going into the kitchen.
And how long is the turn time at your outlet?
They vary, but usually in our various outlets, if it's not a prolonged tasting menu, the turn time is right about an hour and a half. About anything right around 4 to 6 people, it generally tends to be an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. And then 6 to 8 people, we shoot for the 2-hour mark. But it does vary from outlet to outlet, but that's kind of our general range for each of those party sizes.
How do you influence your team in a positive way?
I think that you have to be positive yourself, and staying positive throughout the entire service is very challenging because what we do requires a lot of emotion. It's a very high stress environment. There's lots of volatility to the things that we do. So to stay positive is very, very important. And if you yourself are not positive, it's hard to ask other people to stay positive. But other than that, I think it's working hard to make sure the team's prepared. If the team trusts that the leadership team has done everything that they could to prepare them for a successful service, then no matter how difficult things might get, that helps them stay positive to know that all efforts were put in to put them in the best place.
How do you lead your team during service?
By being as involved as I can. And I think it starts with 2 big things that take place prior to the service, which is trust and preparation. The team has to trust you, and you develop that trust, as I said earlier, by making a connection with each of the team members, asking them about their families, checking in on how their day was, and then making sure that they have all the tools that they need, make sure that pre-shift is accurate and thorough, that the restaurant manager has spot checked all the side stations to make sure that they're stocked so that each server has all the tools that they need to be successful. And I think those are the 2 most important things that really gain your ability to be an effective leader on the floor during the service.
What was the last thing you taught a team member?
The last thing I taught a team member was actually the financial review, our P&L review for the entire year. And I did that with the assistant general manager. I think it's very important because we're always developing our assistant general managers to be general managers. And it was time that for this particular individual to really get a deeper synopsis of the financials and the operation as a whole so that they can really understand what we do on a day-to-day basis and how that translates to how we're effectively running an operation on a larger scale.
How do you bring stability and calm to each service?
Again, by being prepared. And I think that stability is something that disappears if you're not prepared. That preparedness comes from 2 things. One is the intangible, which is information, but making that information tangible by putting it on a piece of paper and also making sure that they have the supplies that they need. But you also have to make the team feel calm when you're on the floor, when you're there, because if you've got at any given time 20 to 30 people that could need your help on any given obstacle that they're going to encounter, to be there for them at that specific time is very, very hard. It's really a matter of luck sometimes, but I think if you're prepared and you're on the floor and they know where you are at all times is how you keep them stable and keep them happy.
In your various outlets, what responsibilities do you have of amplifying the daily, weekly, monthly revenue?
So in the various outlets, on a daily scale, it comes from reviewing our reservations and reviewing the time slots and what's available for that day and what has been really communicated to each team member at the door, as well as with the management team, to ensure that we are either taking in X amount of walk-ins, adding in Y amount of slots, and how we're assessing the business volume on an hourly basis, really. On a weekly scale, it's about, I think, assessing our promotions, whether it's through social media, touching base with our local concierge, visiting them, going through what conventions are in town for the week, what we've done to make an impact in that convention center. And that's, I think, how we drive things on a weekly scale, is doing things externally of the restaurant. On a monthly scale, these are more aggressive, larger scale marketing campaigns that are done through email blasts, what we call grassroots initiatives, where it's really groundwork of management going out to the local businesses, connecting with executive assistants, reaching out, going through the convention center list schedule on who's going to arrive, and doing a bit of research on who their assistants are, and reaching out to them to either invite them in for happy hour or free dinner, so that we can try and lock in the business to gain their when the conventions are actually in town. So 3 different scales that happen on 3 different levels on daily, weekly, and monthly basis.
Is there transparency around daily, weekly, monthly revenue goals?
1,000%. And I think that in the past, I wasn't as keen on being as transparent about these goals, but I think it's important for the team to know, because it gets them invested. It also gets them excited. And when they know that there's a certain target, they either get very excited about hitting the target, or they get disappointed about not hitting the target. And it actually drives them and gets them more invested to know these goals, even if, let's say, it's not necessarily translating to their success right away. Because if they're whether they have a successful table or not, they may not exactly know how that translates to our monthly revenue number. But